Hi, everyone. We are so excited to be back with the Espresso podcast for this episode. Today, we are joined by a representative from Akulian Creative, which is a video production and design agency. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. It's great to be here talking with people that are passionate about, things in business, things that are creative and things that are cool.
Yeah, so we can get right into the first question. So this isn't really a typical job in the way that investment banking or medicine is. So what inspired you to start working in this industry?
So definitely even going far back, I brought some props. When I was younger, I had an older sister, but she was 10 years older than me, and so I spent a lot of time by myself at home. And I had 5 aunts on each side, so I always had to be entertaining. So this was my camera that I used back in the day. And literally I made movies on this thing. Like this was something that was everything to me. And once I got this in 5th grade, it really allowed me to start to put things together. And then also I was into computers. So I've built a lot of my computers, and with my family I've built them. And kind of serendipitously, in 9th grade, my homeroom teacher was also a technology teacher, and he allowed us to build computers. So really that was an opportunity to see behind the firewall of some things and just be like, you can do it. And even though things are confusing and there's a lot of stuff that is really technical and really crazy in every field, that there really are just one step to really get that first thing going in every field. And so it was just really more than anything, I love to entertain people and that type of stuff. Kind of got away from that for a long time because I didn't have any mentors in it, and didn't really have anyone who I could see a path to a career field. And then senior year in high school, I actually took a cinemas literature class, made my first movie. And that's what really even then, all of college, I actually skipped a lot of my pre-law classes, and I was just writing a blog and writing things and started to sell ads on it because that's what I love to do. And my political science classes and my pre-law stuff was all just writing. So I could do that without really going, which is not the greatest thing because I wish I had taken more communication classes and things like that early on so I could have became more polished earlier. But I found my way through just because I'm so passionate about it, and so passionate about creating. And fortunately, after, meeting people and doing a lot of different things in a lot of different fields, I was able to find opportunities that allowed me to turn my creativity into enough revenue to be able to do it and turn it into a studio.
Thank you so much. And so what strategies did Akulian use to market and expand the business?
So early on, it was actually a lot of, it started off with Rich Akulian Media, and I actually quit my job in my father's hospital room to make a movie that I had come up with a month before, and pretty much just quit within a week and, went out on my journey with my little cousin Thomas, who Make-A-Wish had just given him a video camera. And that camera was what we used to make a pilot 6 months later. And I ran out of money 6 months later, but I made a lot of friends, and I'm good at making friends. And a lot of the people, the first client that I had was actually my old company. And my old company was a technology company where, I'd actually listened to one of your other podcasts with, Jessica. And, she had mentioned, and she was talking about how, don't be afraid to leave a company if it's not right for you. But for me, same thing. But for me, it was when I found the right one, it was don't just go leave for an opportunity that's a few more $1,000s or a few more things, because I wanted to build those relationships that allowed me to see enough and meet them enough that I work with the same people nonstop now, and work with their network and their network. And, and really that's where, coming from a family who, my parents both worked the same jobs for 40 years, not jobs that they dreamt about, but they dreamt about giving me a chance to do the one I did. And, and that's the thing I try and pay back. And fortunately, I learned that at 30, and now I'm 39, and we'll be celebrating 10 years in business coming up. But, I look at the things that we've gone through to get to where we are today, and, client by client, one by one, failed deal by failed deal, lesson by lesson. And you really just continue to look back at, even for me, it's it's just about the people that you meet and the people that, you help them reach their goal too. And so there's a good quote that I kind of live by, and it's one that came from, these motivational things that you find, literally when I quit my job, I had found a 7-minute motivational video. It's just a speech online, and I've listened to it maybe 10,000 times, like legitimately. And so, Zig Ziglar is someone who had said back in the day, if you help enough people get what they want, you can have everything that you want. And so for someone who really like grew up as kind of an only child or second only child who was so focused so much on my ability and what I could do, it was later on just hearing that and realizing that I love to make people smile. I love to make people have more knowledge. I love to show people what I can do, and, just need to come at by giving them the ability to see what they can do too. And then it's exponential.
That sounds great. So what, in your opinion, is the most creative or exciting thing that you've been hired to animate or design?
Cool. So definitely, I kind of have two things on this. So we have a wide range. Like, I love to tell like crazy parody jokes, like different things. Like, I mean, I've done introductions for presidents on both sides of the aisle. But really from recent standpoints, we just won a national award. It was the first time anyone in the Albany area has won this, and it was for helping an artist we work with get his music played at Yankee Stadium. And it was something we did last year that it was actually done like right behind us, and we sat here, and we did it with no budget, no anything, but we did it with pretty much he had a great song, and it was called Back on Bass, and it really worked for it. And he reached out and he said, Rich, can you help me get my song played at Yankee Stadium? And I said, maybe, I don't know, like that. But really, it was a standpoint of like, I heard this song. Music is one of my favorite things, like to work with. So like all of the films, all of the things we work with, music is everything to me. And so like we have a recording booth, we have everything, like that's my favorite type of stuff. But we were able to, by writing a single page one sheet, and by Johnny Two Phones is his name. You should, like, he's amazing. So Johnny went down outside Yankee Stadium, and he literally, with no budget, just stood outside Yankee Stadium and put headphones on people and played his song for people and had them dance. We made social content, like down and dirty social content that just was, hey, play Johnny at Yankee Stadium. And then once he went and did that first initial bit of work and came back, and he has a good following on social. Like, I mean, he had his music played on Bel Air recently, and things like that. And we made the music video for the song that was on there, and that won some awards as well, which was really fun. But then when he went down to Yankee Stadium, and it's all of those like, hey, how do you do it? I mean, really, like, he had the right purpose, he had the right song, and he had the right attitude. And he went and stood outside of Yankee Stadium with a jersey on, looking right, and played his songs for people and got great reactions. And then we made pretty much a one sheet resume that was the game plan with the DJ from Yankee Stadium. And it just said up top, like, the game plan, and everything in it linked, everything was steps, and none of it said play our song. But like, it was like step one, listen. And it was like, we call it like, make it as easy as possible for people to give you everything you want. And so when we sent a single PDF and made it so that he was very easy to understand that we had a campaign for him and not just some random song that we wanted him to play, at the bottom of it had social goals, and it said like, the DJ will have more fans, like the DJ will have a unique sound to play, and there will be a musical bridge formed between Johnny Two Phones and DJ J Jung. And nowhere did it say play our song. And it just said like, hey, when you hear from enough of us that you need to play our song, like, you're going to play our song at Yankee Stadium. And he did, and he played it through the playoffs. And then our company was awarded with like helping them do it, and we won a national advertising award at the Addies, which was one thing really cool just even about that is like, and it's something I'll reflect on there, is that they rank the advertising awards out of like 100. So like, think about it in school, like, if everyone said, we won it for guerrilla marketing. So if anyone say there's 10 good awards for that, they can all get golds if they're ranked by that. But we only won silvers at every level, but we won best in show at every level too, because like, people didn't respect some of the down and dirty stuff, the artistic judges, but like, I knew we had something different that no one else had. And that was backed up by the fact that like, even though we didn't win a gold at any other level and like other people did, there was the judges picked us as the highest and the best overall period out of it at all the other levels. So it's like one of those, just recognizing when you know, and that you're never going to be perfect for everyone, but you can be perfect for someone. And that one should start with you and then hopefully find an audience that's bigger than that if you really want to work with it.
Yeah.
And then secondly, like, so from the opposite of that is, we work with social issues. So, one of the big things that we work with that was important to me, I mentioned it quickly before, was my cousin Thomas, who I worked with on this. He had an enlarged heart and Make-A-Wish had given him, a camera. Unfortunately, he's gone. But one of our last projects together was actually for Donate Life New York. And we work with them now on different stuff to help people tell their story and get more people to check yes. And then another project that we got to work on recently, which is important to me, is I don't know if you guys have seen in the news things that are going on with Artsakh and Armenians, and there's some things going on over in Europe and Asia, and so I'm from Armenia. My company has the Armenian flag and the logo, and my dad is a very proud Armenian. So Artsakh was they were being blockaded, and we were able to support them we turned our studio into like pretty much like a museum from the future that showed like this is a blockade exhibit, and it ended up just showing more of like this is what's going to happen if you don't come to that. And we worked with like an artist from Armenia who got it, and then like things that are really cool that I like are like, you know, turning prints into like paintings by putting like glue and stuff on them and like decorating and fun stuff. So like we do a lot of different things. But more than anything, like I like to work on things that can make a difference, and then like to put in the work on the details that like really matter, down to like literally sitting and taking this and printing it at FedEx and then like literally putting 100 layers of glue and chalk on it to make it look like a painting for 2 seconds. You know, that type of stuff. But very much like being authentic, because like for me, it was also even like I wanted an Armenian artist to do it. And I actually made a connection with a person in Yerevan, Armenia, when we were doing that project. So it's like every project that I get to meet cool people, tell a cool story and make a difference with like even down to one person or make them smile. Like that's the stuff we love. But definitely go check out Johnny Two Phones and I would recommend that.
Yeah, that's very intriguing. It seems like you're very methodical and unique with your approach. And so I was wondering how you would predict like AI would affect your sector, and if you've already seen AI's impact in the video and production and design industry so far.
I mean, like so much, right? Like, I mean, like I feel so bad for anyone right now who hasn't gotten their foothold yet and doesn't like, you know, maybe have just seen their skill set feel like it's diminished. Like, you know, from artist friends or things that I have, because I can't draw anything. So like, you know, that from a standpoint. But as an editor, you know, it really has stood out to me when I look at my iPhone and I would see often like they have Magic Movie in there. And, you know, it really made me actually recognize when I had done a Magic Movie from a little vacation that I'd done, and it picked this clip that I would have picked. And I was like, why? Like, right. Like, and then I come from a software company. So I start breaking down the algorithm. I'm like, oh, it picked it because the decibels raised. It picked it because there was a smile on his face or there was action, right? Like, I know it's picking it for a reason that we can equate to a human that picked why that happens. But, you know, it's more than anything is by not being scared of what's coming, recognizing when your skill set or a skill gets made easier, that you try and figure out that easier way. And if it fits in your current workflow, and then continuing to do workflows that, like for me, I'm trying not to change my workflows too much, but not to give up like things like if I was filming this podcast, I know there's a lot of transcribing software and there's a lot of things that if we were going into this from the beginning and we had themes that we wanted to hit, I know I could Command F in the transcription and like really like see the words that I wanted without much difficulty compared to, you know, watching this for 30 minutes and sitting there and cutting it. So it's more of just even there getting ready for what's coming, recognizing what stuff immediately makes the tedious parts of my job that I didn't like better. And then definitely for a lot of people, it's just not being scared of this stuff. But it definitely is for a lot of people right now. I think if you've learned a program or you've learned something or you're really committed a lot of time to something and now you see that program doesn't even maybe something that you use or that like it can be defeating. But I kind of get excited I used ChatGPT for the first time the other day to build like a keyword list for a client who we advertise for, and, you know, and like to clean up my list and to do things that I used to do in Excel, that were kind of annoying. And now, I find myself typing to ChatGPT, and I actually still like to say like, please. So like, if you see my transcripts with ChatGPT, like I'm like, please remove the hyphens. And I literally like, I don't know, I can't stop myself from doing that stuff. But, I'm a computer kid and I type fast. So I like it.
I also say please to ChatGPT, so
Yeah, I
um
mean, if you don't say, I really judge people based on like if, we say at our company even then like we hold doors for people, like, like it's always like catch people doing something right when other people aren't looking, like, those types of things because, for me even then, like, I mean, I do stuff for image, I do stuff for that, but like, I love to hold doors for people cause I'm gonna need a door held for me, definitely, on that, but I'm sorry, I cut you off.
okay. So on your website, it seems like many, if not all of your employees are involved in activities that range from sports to entrepreneurship and other ventures of their own. So how does this intellectual diversity of your company influence the way that everyone collaborates with one another?
I mean, I mean, like, we definitely have great people, and I've had great people over the years that I'm really, as you can see, like, I've got a lot of energy, like, I've got a lot of things that I'm confident in, and, that makes it so that I attract confident people that can compete with me and, like, will push me to be better at things. So, one of my favorite superheroes, like, growing up randomly, her name was Rogue, and she could absorb everyone else's powers. And so more than anything is like with the people that we've brought around, like everyone that has come in is really passionate about one or multiple things that I like to be good at everything. And so like, that's the really thing that I think people were missing when they were, potentially having their internships or their first jobs and they're, working from home or doing it from there, where you don't get to look over someone's shoulder or you don't get to see them fail, or you don't get to see them succeed, because like, that's the stuff where, even as I was mentioning the transcription stuff before, the only reason why I went back and looked at like a program, like I work in Adobe Premiere, it's my best program. And so like, I would have never gone and looked for this transcription part of it, but I had a new editor on my team, Danny, and I was teaching him something and he knew how to do it. And so it was more of like, he was like, Rich, why don't you do that? And, as being typically, I'm stubborn with my learning, but it was more of like, it's so easy. And it's so much better. And that's what's having people of different levels around you learning, but all passionate about getting to that top level really has done for us. And it's really, that's where when I mentioned even before, like I type fast, like if people can't type fast or keep up with me, they can't overpower me in Slack. So like literally, if you can't type fast, like, you can't really work for me. Or you have to wait for me to finish 5 thoughts, type deal. But definitely, I'd say like I come from a bigger company where I came from a software company that got acquired, and that's what started my company in 2014. And we had a couple hundred people around the world, and like every company's got people that are at different points in their careers or different mindsets with where they were. But really there we had something special as a private company that was, pre-acquired, and we were all pulling on the rope the same way. So, I got a lot of great leadership that I was very fortunate to get. And that really helped me understand that the only people that I could bring around me were people that were going to be in that same mindset. And then over the years, I've tried to become better at enabling them to be entrepreneurial or have these things where they do not feel stunted, because I don't like to feel stunted. So it's about making sure that we put people and have them sign up for things they want to do. And if we see they don't want to do something and they're not the right person to do it, try and be as realistic as possible and get them out of it, or find them something new.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. So going further than employees, what traits do you look for when you're looking for potential collaborative partners? So is it solely based on experience, or are there other components that would sort of feed into those decisions?
Well, for me, it's been more about like trimming away what I want to do and trying to focus on, like, it's like me personally rather, but like but like when we look internally and who I'm looking at, I love working with artists that can draw or like bring things to life, because I can't. And so, some of the things that really help me as I've gone on so that I can collaborate with people better, is like my artist Esther that I've worked with for a long time. Like when we first came in, she'd get mad because I'd have details that I'd give her late. And they would change what she had done and the work she had done. And then we just learned to work together, and it was like, all right, well, I know I'm coming with details late. You know I'm coming with details late. So let's leave blank space there that I can fill in with those details that I might not have for the client. And now you can do that last minute. Yeah, definitely. So also it's more about like even, how they react to an opportunity, or how their work patterns are. Cause like, some people need to work on stuff at, like, some people will go nonstop like me, like, and some people need those breaks, and some people like, need some certain amount of time to marinate on a project before. And so really it's about, for me, that's why even like when I hire people, typically I'll look at, sometimes when they apply, or like, how long it takes for them to respond. If, I write them back something that's like, like respond worthy, type deal, just more than anything, if that actually matters. And it's more than anything, like I don't expect that all the time, but it's more when you're in opportunity mode and when you're hunting. Like if I respond, like I just gave you everything you asked for. So you better take it, or I know that like I'm not going to be able to potentially like work as fast as I want to, and as I'm willing to. So as I've kind of had our business mature, and even my mindset mature around like taking breaks or these different things in there, it's still about just recognizing that I try and hire people that, have the same reason and the same incentive to work at the pace I do, even if it's just their own internal drive, that forces them to do it. And I try not to force my drive on other people. And, try to only ask things of people the way I want. And definitely like in terms of collaboration partners, it's about, how, like, do they say thank you? Do they acknowledge when, like, do they know how important it is to me? And do they know like how much space I potentially need or time I need to get it done, but that like literally my logo's tattooed on my arm. Like, like this is what I do. And if I've held it, it's because like there's nothing getting better by me sending it to you in that time. Like, but more than anything, it's about finding people you trust, that they care as much as you care. And even if it's going to go wrong, like, that they were the right person to go for with that, that part of the project.
Yeah, that's very cool, and definitely something that's applicable to a lot of situations and work environments and all of that. I guess our last question would be, what piece of advice would you give high schoolers who are trying to find a career path that fully satisfies them, whether it's in the field that you're in or otherwise?
Well, the other piece that I'm doing, so like the last thing that we do overall is storytelling, is like I'm making a documentary on a football player. And it's more though about chasing your dreams and focus more than anything. Cause I have ADHD, he has ADHD. Like, like when we look at all the things, like I wrote down on my board the other day, cause as I'm writing the narrations for it, it's like when you can be good at everything, sometimes you're never great at anything, like type deal. And sometimes like if people are just always encouraging you that you're good at everything, like you don't find focus. So what I would say is that I'm glad I didn't have focus at a lot of things, because it's worked out, because I was able to pick up a lot of skill sets. But as I mentioned before, like, I mean, I only got 1A in college, and it was in the one marketing class I took. Cause it was the only one I wanted to go to, and the only one where like the thing that was inside of me that I had to do was exactly what was being graded. So it's more about like really looking for when you can find anything, or find someone that you can recognize, like what I love or what is just a part of me is valued in that. Like that's where you'll be rewarded for things that you already are going to do. And that can be as a homemaker, that can be as this, that can be as anything, like, where it's like, if you're like really organized, and it's like, it annoys you how organized you are, but you have to be, it's like, all right, well, like that's valuable. Like, right. Like Sophia on my team, like she's super organized, like doesn't let me bury, like, and, and like, and doesn't let me ramble. Like pretty much I know if she turns her head or something like that, but like she knows she has carte blanche to like tell me how it is. Because like that's what I need to be able to move as fast as I do, with being able to have a check and balance and bring people around, where you're like, yeah, like if you can't tell me like that, then why? Like, I mean, I talk a lot, so like you'll never like feel empowered to do anything. And then I'm just paying you to be here. But like, like I want to make sure that people have the ability to turn what they love to do into earnings and for themselves. And like, and the same thing with when I was younger, if I had recognized and seen like, oh, like if I'd been on one movie set or been anywhere or seen behind the firewall one time, I think I would have potentially gone. But I also see a lot of friends who now are just like on productions and they just work one part of the production or this or never moved up. And so for me, I was fortunate, I guess I got to go on the back end and learn some business side of it and be a part of an acquisition and really get lucky with a couple bosses that dragged me along by my ears, and learning and, really forced me to learn things that I would have never paid attention to otherwise. So it's really about just recognizing what's inside of you that you can't give up, that you're always going to look after, and then making sure that you can recognize that there's either someone who's already done it that you can recognize how they did it, or you're willing to go and be on that pioneer journey that some people are on. I mean, that's sometimes when I look at stuff and I'm like, oh, did someone ever do that before? And I'm like, is it okay? And then I'm like, but I like doing things that are original. So I'm like, like that's where, and I want to do things that are original. So, it's uncomfortable to go after stuff like that. But I would say, yeah, just make sure that you find something that, there's a part of you that you're good at and that's valued in that profession. Otherwise, like you'll never find it. But you can learn something from every single job you have. And if you get fired, sometimes you should be thankful, on that, because I've definitely been fired from a few jobs and they were the ones that gave me references because it just honestly, like I said, my parents worked the same jobs for 40 plus years and they never really had a chance to see if like they liked anything else, because they had families young and that was their job. But me, who's, been around the block to different things, it was always about being creative and coming back to knowing like I work 7 days a week. I do this. And like, that's part of that speech that I've mentioned before that I've listened to 100,000 times. It's like, what could you do 7 days a week and still love it? Like, like I literally wake up and I go work on my documentary. I work on these different things that like, that's where I go jump in the booth and write a song or do something like that because I have to. And so tomorrow I'm playing golf because I love to do that. But even then, like I bring my tripod and I film and I break down footage and but that's a problem. So, but I'm going to try and enjoy myself.
Yeah, that's a great response. And thank you so much for joining us today and talking to us about, your journey and some advice that you may have for us. So yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.